Hilarious Hinge profiles, our election day predictions, and Mia Khalifa's marriage advice. That's up next on The Tinder Project. G'day and welcome to The Tinder Project, the podcast where a straight Aussie man attempts to survive 365 days dating online as an American woman. I'm your host, Mark Rosenfeld, Australia's dating coach for women. I'm here with my sidekick, self-love coach, Teal Elisabeth, and together we have one mission: to make meeting good men fun and easy for you. Let's give it a bell. Teal!
Hi, Mark.
My friend, how are you?
Doing good, doing good.
I love your look today.
Thank you. Every time we talk, I feel like you have some comment about how I'm showing up today.
It's different this week. Teal, before we were online, said the remnants of her lipstick had been smushed off by food or something. And I said, you know what? I like the remnants look. I like that. Here's some remnants of my lipstick look. I'm enjoying this. Well done.
You know, I just wake up like this. I just can't even.
You're like those actors in the movies who, like, after a huge night and all this action and everything's happened, they just wake up looking bloody perfect.
Perfect, as always. Yep, that's me. Anyways, let's talk about, well, what do you want to talk about today?
I want to show you some Hinge profiles.
Okay, let's do it.
Are you healthy? Are you healthy? Is baby well? Is all that going well?
Yeah, all of it's going really well. I just made my big announcement to the world about, the gender. Everything's just feeling so good and exciting, and get to just kind of like sink into the next few months.
You have some very cute Halloween photos on your Instagram.
Thank
that
you.
I liked. Lots of pumpkins and stuff going on. Man, your little boy looks like Spencer, doesn't he? He's really good.
Yeah, he's really a cutie pie.
All right, I got some funny Hinge profiles that I found, Teal. So I want to show you a few of these. We're calling this Hinge Hilarity today. I thought these were a bit of a laugh, so I'm just going to bump you through a few of these. Can you see my screen?
Yes,
Teal?
It's pretty
All
small.
right, I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to zoom in here. First up is Donald. I think that's his name. Douglas. I knew it started with a D.
And we're not talking about Donald Trump, just to be clear.
We are doing predictions later, so that'll be interesting. Let's see how well this podcast ages. By the way, guys, today is election day, so you'll be listening to this probably about a month afterwards. So you'll have all the hindsight to look back on us and think, these idiots, what were they thinking
These
with
idiots.
those predictions? God. We got Douglas on the screen. Douglas made me lol because Douglas is a giant hair enigma. Teal, so have a look at this. All right, there he is. There he is. Now, for those listening, we've got Douglas, nice, sort of, he's maybe 40 or something. He's got nice short hair, kind of a crew military type cut. Next photo, basically a shaved head with a Navy something hat on, or an army hat, whatever that is. Next photo, frickin' Fabio hair down past his nipples. Next photo is shoulder length hair, which honestly looks like what my hair looked like for a very long time when I had it out. It's very rare to find a photo of me with hair like that. And yet another Fabio photo at the end. So he was a hair enigma for the week. I found that truly, truly fascinating. We had Bora, who was like a very playful version of Darth Sidious from Star Wars.
Wow.
Just got the coat. If this coat was black, he's just got the. He's got the black. He's got the black hoodie. Just Darth Vader. Just like I wish I could show the eyes. It's just like, I am Darth Sidious. The execute Order 66. Kill the Jedi. That's what's going on in Bora's profile. We got Corey. Now Corey's a man who knows how to date. Corey said, "I need Hinge photos. What do women love? Lamps. Women love lamps." I know this from experience because Sam bought 6 lamps in one day and then proceeded to return all of them. But man, lamps and rugs are the two things that I know Sam's into those. So Corey said, you know what? I got this one dialed. Guys haven't figured this out. He's got a bunch of lamps in his photo. Looks like several. He's got a big one, a couple of small ones. He's got a lamp shade next to him as well. So yeah, Corey knows what he's doing online. We got Tom. Tom said, I don't have a ton of online dating photos, so I'm just going to grab a couple. Where's a good place to take one? Shopping car park, man. It's got a bunch of trolleys in the background.
In the parking lot.
In the parking lot. I'm like, look, I got to do these photos. My Hinge profile really matters to me. So I'm out there. I'm a man who can do chores. and I'm right in the middle of one right now, so I'm
Oh,
shopping.
that
So
one cracks me up for sure.
shout out to you, Tom, for the trolleys. And we got this guy. This guy just made me laugh because he said he had this prompt. It's the good old Hinge prompt. Where is it here? Louis, what's up, my man? Louis said, it wasn't that one about the wait staff. Oh, Louis said, date, where is it? It's down the bottom. Louis said, dating me is like a breath of fresh air. Fair enough. Okay, fair enough, Louis. What about, what are your traits? By the way, do you, oh, he smokes and does marijuana. Yeah, breath of fresh air there from Louis. So, nice, Louis. We appreciate you for the entertaining profiles. That's some Hinge hilarity for the day. Teal.
Gosh, those are great.
What about?
You know,
Go on. Oh, I was just going to say today is also one of my favourite weeks because you may notice, to my great pleasure, you probably can't notice actually for the viewers who are watching, but no one can notice other than me. But I have noticed, to my great pleasure, it's dark outside. It's dark outside, and that means the god-forsaken stupidity that is daylight savings times, the insanity that seemingly only Arizona and Hawaii have managed to escape, has gone again for another few months. And I am thanking my lucky stars, Teal. There is morning sunlight again. The insanity of the clock change is over. So it's a good day. It's election day, but it's also the first week out of daylight savings. It's very hard to be unhappy when daylight savings is finally. Do you feel the same way?
You know, no, because I'm trying to sleep train a toddler right now, and it's just throwing everything off. But
I'm there.
other than that, I will say, yeah, it is nice to have a little more daylight for when we're alive and awake. But I don't know. I'm up so north. I'm in northern Washington, and it gets dark now around like 4:30. So it's just like coming into the winter time is what it means for me.
I love that. Give me that vampire. I'll take a 6 a.m. sunset or sunrise and a 4 p.m. sunset any day. I'm just like, give me the vampire nights.
No,
I'll take it.
I
love
want
my
those
nights.
7 o'clock like dim evenings in the summertime. Those are my
No one agrees with me on this. I'm dying on this hill though because I hate daylight savings. So every year I
did not
rant
know
to
that.
Sam about it, and she's so over it now that like I can't rant to her anymore because she just doesn't talk back when I rant.
So now you just started a podcast just so you can rant about.
Well, you talk to me about it now, yeah, and all the listeners can agree with me. They probably won't, but that's okay. I'm just very excited it's over for another year, and I'm seriously considering moving to Arizona so I can get away from it forever. So there's
There we
that.
go. Okay, well, that's good to know about you.
It is election day though, Teal. I know this is not a politics forecast, but I thought we'd have a little fun today. Let's see how badly this prediction can age. You're not a political person. I'm not really either. I kind of dabble a little bit in it, but it's a big election. It's Trump, it's Kamala, there's a lot going on in the world. Well, it's very polarized. It's a little bit sad. I think we should do a podcast on the fact that men and women, especially young men and women, are voting very opposite now. We're seeing a real gender divide in the votes, which I think is sad in terms of men and women coming back together. That's a bit of a worrying trend. But negativity aside, Teal, who's going to win tonight? Who's your money on?
God. Oh God.
Go on, hit us.
Oh, I just don't even want to isolate myself by saying this.
You're like the pollsters. Everyone's like 50-50. I'm not picking, man.
I literally saw a poster that said "fuck them both." I was like, "Oh my God!"
It was one of Kennedy's posters, and then he went, "Wait a minute, this isn't working. I'm going to go join one of them."
I have to say, I think Trump might win.
Any reason?
Like I said, I don't like getting all involved in all this. There's a huge upswing for Kamala, and I love that she's taking that step forward to be the first woman president and everything that she stands for. I just think that also Trump has it is very abrasive, but it is also so like inspiring and empowering in a sense, because he has this just ballsy gutsiness that nobody has ever brought, I think, to politics before, that I think people just really keep holding on to and believing in and really wanting and feeling like he could be the one that actually could just change and shake things up. And I know he had a chance to do that, and he did kind of shake some things up, maybe not in the best ways, but I just think people really want that let's shake things up kind of attitude. But I don't know. I mean, I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
That man can and has gotten away with things saying things that I think no one else could.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
and it's weird because he's very clearly, you know, highly narcissistic and just says some horrible, toxic things over and over again that just make you roll your eyes. And the debate, I don't know if you saw any of the debate, but Kamala just baited his ego over and over and over again in that debate. I was like, this man, like his ego it's both his biggest friend, because to give the man credit, he got to the top of, you know, celebrity status on The Apprentice. He's obviously very successful in business, and then to do politics as well. Like, that's a weird individual that's able to take a personality and do all those things. Like, that's some ego that is very.
It's more than ego. I mean, he's also really into visualization, the law of attraction. Like, he's studied.
Is it really? I didn't know that.
He has a lot of
did not know
extensive
that.
training in, like, yeah, the laws of quantum thinking and all of that. So I have a lot of feelings that he's doing a lot. He seems like just this arrogant, stupid bastard, but there is a lot of finesse to what he's
Behind
doing
the scenes.
behind the scenes. It's
Look,
an act that he's putting on purpose, is what I see it
Interesting.
as.
Look, I'm not going to lie. If I had to choose between either Kamala or Trump sitting down with Putin, let's send Trump to do that job.
Exactly.
I may not be a fan of the man, but I'd prefer him in that regards. Predictions, though, who would I predict? I was thinking a lot about this. It's really hard because I think women's rights and abortion are still so at the forefront, and I think the worst thing Trump ever did was that. And whether or not you agree or disagree, pro-choice, if you look at popularity-wise, it's clearly an unpopular position. And all you need to do is look at 2022 to realise that there's a lot of, understandably, and I agree, there's a lot of anger around that decision. So for me, it's kind of like, is that angst about abortion and about many people's strong feelings to that, is that still going to come through? I think that's how Kamala wins if she does. I don't think she wins unless that is still there. Is it there still enough? Oh, I'm also going to predict Trump. I'm going to say it's died down enough that she doesn't quite get over the line just on the back of that issue. But that's my prediction. We'll see. Might age like milk after tonight. Kamala just clean sweeps.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we will see.
we'll see.
I will
I'm
give
curious,
them both
though.
credit. I will give them both credit because it just takes so much courage and guts to even put yourself in that kind of spotlight, and the amount of that they're both having to field of each other's just constant interrogation and dragging each other down, and the propaganda and all of it is just like, it's just, I don't know how any one actual human being, if we actually think of them as human beings, can handle such intensity.
It is impressive, what they put themselves through.
Yeah.
Yeah, it takes a very special type of person. We talked about Matthew McConaughey and how he thought about getting into politics, and he went, wait a minute, I would hate that. Why would I subject myself to that? And then a bunch of other people who have certain personality types get into it. Let's dive off politics and let's talk about something a bit closer to home. There was a video from, now, for those of you who don't know her, Mia Khalifa. Do you know how it's pronounced, Teal?
Is she married to Wiz Khalifa?
Definitely not from what she says in this video.
That's right. No.
She's a former porn star, so she got really famous, I think, because I'm pretty sure, I don't know how I know this, I promise it's not from personal experience, but I think she did porn in a hijab, which was deeply, deeply offensive to the entire Muslim population, and that's how she kind of got famous. Anyway, I think she retired.
Out for sure.
She retired long ago, but she put out a video with some marriage advice, of all things. She's 30 now, so all right. She's obviously got a big following. I want to show you this video, and I'm so curious to hear your thoughts. So let me bring it up here. Okay, I'm gonna share the screen.
Porn star marriage advice. Yeah.
Porn star marriage advice. Maybe it's the best kind. Let's find out. Let's do this. Here we go. Here's the clip from Mia, whatever her name is, giving some interesting marriage advice.
Oh, we're comparing stats. Baby girl doesn't know that I am Tom Brady at this game. Married at 18, divorced at 21. Second marriage, married at 25, divorced at 28. Third engagement, engaged at 29, ended it at 30, but I kept the ring. I'm still keeping Tom Brady on his toes. We should not be afraid to leave these men. We are not stuck with these people. Marriage is not a sanctimonious thing. It is paperwork. It's something, it's a commitment you make to someone. But if you feel like you're not getting anything from that commitment and you're trying, you gotta go. You gotta go. You have to go. I know it's difficult to fill out paperwork and to make appointments and to do all of these things, but this is your fucking life. Do you want to be stuck with someone? Period. Do you want to be stuck with someone?
Wow, that was some advice, Teal. You're looking a bit agitated over there. How are you doing, Teal? What do you think of Mia's advice?
I think, oh, she definitely pisses me off. One, who does she think she is giving marriage advice, right? Like, and two, why do people think they should listen to her? I mean, I guess everyone, freedom of speech, everyone has their opinion, their right to their opinion. But being a love coach, same as you, being a love coach, this is what we do. We don't need more people filling the internet with ideas that have no basis in actual validity. I mean, she's literally validating the fact that she does not have a healthy relationship, and that her idea of having a healthy relationship is to get out of relationships. So that just kind of makes me angry that she's just muddying the waters for people, because there's so much advice out there anyways, and we need to just be distilling the advice, not adding more noise to the conversation. But the actual conversation itself, I mean, yes, there are threads of truth. If you are in a marriage and you've been really trying, and he's obviously just showing no sign of wanting to make this marriage work, then it probably is the right thing to take steps to get out of that marriage. But I think just her attitude and the way she's bringing this all up and sharing it makes it feel very dismissive and apathetic and disrespectful to the concept of what marriage is all about. To me, a marriage is so much more than just a contract and paperwork. It is a rite of passage for two people. It's a sense of, I feel like, a sense of maturity, of stepping into putting somebody else's thoughts and needs above your own. It's a deepening of a commitment that you're making to somebody. And when you make a commitment, I think you don't go into commitments lightly. You make a commitment because you honor your word and you are a person of integrity. And so just the way that she's just brashly just being like, yeah, if it's not working, just toss it out. Like, every other thing is just such a sign of our millennial generation of just like that instant gratification. If it's not pleasing me in this moment, I'm just going to toss you off. It's not really bringing in any depth of self-development, self-growth, working through challenges, growing, building grit with somebody. I think I have a lot of frustration around people of this generation and younger generations just having no sense of real hardship, because we haven't really had much hardship. We are so unbelievably privileged in this generation.
Do you know they call this the Great Peace? Ever since the 1940s, obviously World War II, it's essentially we've lived in the Great Peace, which is the longest time.
In some ways, yes. And then I feel like in other ways, the digital world has made it so unpeaceful, and we're more anxious than we've ever been. So I wouldn't call it peaceful.
Well, I think the two go together is what I'm saying, to your point, because there's been no major conflicts between international powers. We haven't had that hard times, that resilience. So things that our brains grab onto, whatever problems are in front of them. If it's a war and we survive a war, then everything else seems trivial. But if the biggest problem we have is something going on the internet, then it's not, our brains can't really rationalize that, okay, maybe this is a lot less than the war. It's like whatever is the major problem is the major problem. It could be war, it could be the latest TikTok video, which sounds obscene, but I think that's why there is so much anxiety, because when you've been through a war, it's like, how are you anxious after that? There's not that much left that you don't think you can handle. When your greatest challenge has been a TikTok video, it's totally understandable that your nervous system's like, well, there could be a lot of other things worse that could happen in the world. How am I going to handle those? What if I can't handle those? So when I say the Great Peace, I just mean in terms of international powers having conflict.
Yeah. So I think just more than anything, because we haven't had, our generation and this next generation hasn't had any serious challenges, and knock on wood, I'm very grateful to that overall. Please, whoever gets into office, don't take us into more wars. But I think in general, it's making things become a lot more trivial, and not really giving the depth and the true appreciation for hardship.
I overall agree. I think you phrased that really well. I think her delivery and attitude is the biggest problem here. I mean, her stats alone, like, she's like proud that she's been
Yeah.
married and divorced 3 times. It's like,
Yeah.
the
Well, she's smoking her marijuana? Like,
yeah, like, what the fuck is
Jesus,
this?
girl. Oh my God. How
And
could I take you seriously?
I think it's so sad because that is the attitude, isn't it? It's that throw away. If it's not pleasing me in the moment, I'm out of here. If she had said, look, there's always going to be situations where when you fight really hard for a marriage, when you go to therapy, when you uncover every stone, that eventually, unfortunately, you might have to end that situation. If after those years of effort you can't regulate it and you can put your hand on your heart and say you did everything from your end that you possibly could, then you might have to end that relationship and don't feel stuck there for the rest of your life. If she'd
Yes.
phrased it like that, I could get behind it, because marriage marriage has a certain meaning now, and I think you defined it really well. But marriage didn't start that way. Do you know how marriage started initially?
That's true. Treating cows. Yeah. For
Yeah, it was
assets.
it was pretty
I
much
know.
that the Hebrews were having a bunch of problems with what's it called? Not fertility, but knowing whose kid is yours. What's that? Like the men were like paternity. The Hebrews were having a bunch of issues with paternity,
Yours
and
or mine?
marriage became this thing where they essentially, I mean, it's really messed up. 2350 BC, this is, a couple of thousand years after the first city was built. They started realizing we're having a lot of paternity issues with our women. We need to treat them more like property so we don't have this issue. Fathers would sell their daughters. Men could have multiple wives, and they would legally own the women, and then the wives could actually be returned to the fathers, as in you get a refund if the woman couldn't give birth.
Oh my God. I
Right?
I am so fascinated how much knowledge, random knowledge you know.
That was how marriage started. If you think
Wow.
patriarchy is bad today, that's how
Yeah.
it started. So
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
wasn't until 2,600 years later, 2,350 plus, no, almost 4,000 years later. It was about 300 years ago, the first divorce. I believe it was an English politician. I forget his name, but he basically realized his wife was cheating on him, and there was this whole thing in, I think it was 1660, where he basically was the first person to ever divorce his wife. And for most of that time, marriage was it was alliances. It was setting up your daughters for a future. That's what it was. And then in the 1660s, this, I think, don't quote me on the date, this guy was the first person to say, no, wife, you're out. Or I think she divorced him. Oh, I should check that detail. Point is, divorce didn't start until very recently. And up until that point, you can totally see how women were completely powerless. You get married at 18, you get a bad one. Not that all are bad, but you get a bad one, you're stuck with him. Like, you can't do much. And it's no wonder that led to a sort of a women's movement where, okay, I'm not going to be stuck in a situation where I don't have to be. I can divorce, and then obviously more recently, I can have a job, I can vote. I mean, it's crazy to think those things only came in the last 100 or so years. That
Yeah.
wasn't, women having jobs like 100 years ago was, I think, pretty unusual. Maybe
That
120
blows
now.
my mind because we're so young, we think about it as it's always been this
Yeah,
way, but like
it
it's
feels so long.
really not. Yeah.
So I agree with you that technically, if you, and the problem with a lot of extremists is this is how they operate. They say something that if you look at it on paper, it'll make sense. If Mia Khalifa says, well, if there's a long-term unhappy marriage, you should leave it. Okay, that kind of makes sense. If Andrew Tate says you should work hard, okay, yeah, as a man, that kind of makes sense. Like learn to protect yourself. Okay, that kind of makes sense. But then they sprinkle in things, whether it's tonalities or attitudes, that are just so much more extreme than the original point. But it's hard to say they're wrong, because technically, again, they're often speaking truths. But this is the case where her attitude is just so blasé, and it's so independent focused, independent culture focused. There's no investment sounding in the relationship from her. It doesn't sound like she's particularly bonded to any of these men. Honestly, it just sounds like she uses them as long as they make her feel good. And as soon as they start to set maybe any kind of boundary with her or piss her off in any way, she's like, all right, I'm out. And I guess, that is the downside of like, well, what really keeps us there in the tough times when we're not making each other feel good? I mean, hopefully it is that commitment, but that's also why I think building the bond is important, because if you're not there for money, as women have had to be for thousands of years, what are you there for? Well, there's emotional qualities and a partner and a teammate that you feel is on your side. And that has so much value, but it's hard to build sometimes. It's uncomfortable to build. It doesn't feel good to build. And I think that's where the younger generation, even our generation as well, is just like, too hard. I don't like hard stuff. I'll go the
Yeah,
easy route.
well, that does beg a really great question about why marriage, and this was a really big conversation that Spencer and I had to have before we got married because for a long time he was very anti-marriage. Did we talk about this already?
No,
I don't
I'm
remember if we
curious
did.
because in Australia we have an interesting attitude to this as well.
Really? What's the
Yeah.
attitude in Australia?
Well, I mean, I can't speak for all Aussies, but the marriage rates are definitely down, and I'm definitely the guy that was always like, I'm going to have a couple of kids before I get married,
Before
and
you get married?
yeah, and my
Are
brother was
you
the
and Sam?
same. He had 2 kids before he got married.
Are
In
you
my
and Sam
head,
married?
what's that?
Are you and Sam married?
Yeah, 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 we're
You
married.
are.
In my head, I thought, okay, I'm gonna have my family, and then I get married. Which most of the women listening to this are going, what? Especially because we have a larger US base. But it's not that uncommon in Australia. It's kind of like the box
Really?
that you check. Yeah. So I
Really?
sort of thought that's how it would be. And Sam was not having a bar of that. She was like, no, 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 no.
Like let's move in together, see how that works. Let's get a dog together, see how that works. Let's have a kid together, see how that works, and then we'll do the marriage
Two
thing.
kids, see how that works. Yeah. And again, I'm not speaking for everyone, but that's a pretty common attitude. And it's certainly my
Wow.
attitude. And Sam was like, nope, not doing that.
Put a ring
Um,
on it.
not hammering on it. Yeah. I mean, it's a little bit easier. I was paying a significant amount of money every year, like a 5-figure amount for my visa. So also marriage made sense for me just on mine and Sam's situation. It also protects our child now that we have Lainey. So it made a lot of sense for me in our situation. But yeah, we're pretty casual about it, to be honest. A lot. I don't speak for everyone, but a lot of us are.
In Australia.
Yeah.
Casual about the concept of marriage.
Yeah, it's more casual. It's not like everyone does what I just described, but it's more common, and that was my initial attitude towards it. Not that marriage itself is casual, but like, let's have a couple of kids, then we'll kind of do it when it gets done.
Yeah. Well, I think there's kind of a dangerous spot with that because, if we are thinking about the milestones of a relationship, even though I know I encourage a lot about not focusing on the milestones of a relationship, but there are milestones of a relationship. And when you start to get into, well, we're living together, we have pets together, we're sharing all of our finances together, it really starts to make you wonder, well, why do I even need to get married? Like the man's thinking, I already have everything. I don't need anything else. I already get to sleep with her, so why would I marry her? And so in my eyes, it kind of takes some of the leverage and the bargaining power away from a woman. Whereas if you're coming in and saying, yes, like I want to be with you, but you need to show me your level of commitment first, and then you get to have all the goods, it does kind of bring the power dynamic, I think, back into more of a healthy normal. And I see this happen actually with some of my girlfriends and some of my clients where they get too far in and then they're like, well, I really want him to marry me. I want him to propose. And the guy's like, why? There's no need. It's just a
Yeah.
label at this point. And it is just a label at this point, but it gets you kind of almost too far in before you've made that full commitment to each other. And as much as it is a label, like I said, to me, what I felt like it was, I mean, I'd been with Spencer for 8 years at that point. We already were all the things already, too.
Yeah.
We traveled the world for 2.5 years together. Like, we were very much invested in each other. But the step of taking that step as becoming husband and wife and going through the ceremony of marriage, it felt like such a rite of passage. Like, we were really, truly bonding ourselves in a very beautiful spiritual way. And from that point, we do agree that we feel more connected, more solidified, more secure as a partnership because of it.
I like that. Yeah, I like that. And it makes a lot of sense. The other issue that Sam and I have had is while we are married, we have not had our wedding yet. So we had a small government ceremony, but our actual wedding has not occurred yet. So we haven't necessarily crossed that phase and had the big traditional in front of all our friends, like public version of it. So I think that's something I'm looking forward to actually. But we are in a little bit of I don't know, in some ways a pre-phase. I mean, we're married for all legal and intensive purposes. But yeah, we haven't had our actual wedding yet. I haven't seen her in a true wedding dress. I haven't had that experience of having her walk down the aisle, her dad pass her off to me. So that's still something I'm looking forward to.
Such a weird world we live in right now, where there
Yeah.
are no rules, there are no traditions anymore. It's like anything goes,
It's
which is beautiful in some ways, but I do think it kind of loses some of the, I don't know, the potency. Like for
our
me, hearing
situation is
that.
weird. I like some
Yeah,
of the traditional stuff. Our situation is just a bit weird because of me being a
yeah,
foreigner. So
that makes sense.
things are out of order. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I do agree though. I think losing too much of the tradition is a problem because what is there to kind of keep as the community standards, and you get this. We were talking about this last week. This kind of very fractured society in a lot of ways, which I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing for the longevity of the society to be so fractured. But I
Yeah,
suppose time will
I
tell. Tonight's
I
result will
know.
also be interesting, won't it?
I think too, another beautiful part about the ceremony of marriage is having all of your bridesmaids and groomsmen up there with you. I mean, the whole part of it is basically saying like, yes, we say I do, and we're saying I do in front of these people, and these people are going to hold us accountable to this, and they're going to help us through the hard times, and like our whole tribe is here to support this marriage. And so, I mean, maybe I'm a romantic around this, but I had to really fight for it because, yeah, Spencer was not really in the beginning, he was not really all that excited about the idea of getting married. He thought it was a logistical thing, paperwork, and all that kind of stuff that we didn't need. Why can't we just be boyfriend and girlfriend forever? And I said, no, 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 you're missing out on some really key, important growth opportunities for the relationship and for, I don't know, just the next
All right.
passage
I
of
have one
who
more
we
question
are.
on this. Was there a moment, because a lot of men feel this way, and I
Hmm.
can admit that I was sort of casual with it as well, like, oh, I'll get married if I have a family already, and it seems like the kind of the last box to check. I was very casual about it. So was there a moment where you basically had to sit Spencer down and said, we get married or I'm out? Maybe not in those exact words, but that was the implication.
Yes, it was a series of, I would say, about 5 or 6 very intense conversations. Yeah, where
Over what
we
time
really,
period?
in like a week or two.
In a
Of
week or two? Wow, I thought you were
yeah.
going to about say over the course of a year. You were like, look, this
No,
needs to
like over the
happen.
course of a few weeks, it was just like really hashing this out. And it was me like researching online, okay, well, if we didn't get married, like what if we did like a domestic partnership or did some other kind of out of the box but kind of married thing? You know, what is it about marriage? And something I really encourage my friends and my clients to really ask their partners, like, what does marriage represent to you? Why do you want to get married? Because he kept coming to me, be like, why do you want to get married? If you want to get married just because everybody does it, that's not good enough for me. I need to know facts. I need to know figures. I need to know real reasons that make sense logically to me. And I think for any women listening that may be in kind of a tricky spot with this, really ask yourself, besides just this is what we do, this is what life is, like what is it that marriage really represents to you? What does it mean to you? And to me, like a big part of it too is like really calling him family. And if something happened to him and he was in the hospital and they say, who's going to make the decision on this person's life? Be like me because I'm his family, right?
Yeah,
Whereas if I'm just his girlfriend, I don't have any say in any of it.
yeah,
And
that's
that
so
was a big
true.
one for me. So I think there is a big like energetic, spiritual, and logistical and financial reason for getting married. And I think it's really important. But I think each person needs to really come to that decision on their own and understand for themselves why they want to get married and make sure that it's not just for the sake of because this is what we do. And if it doesn't work, I can just toss it out and start with somebody new. Like really deciding and making that commitment.
Yes, don't be gloating about your 3 divorces before 30. It's like the 3 before 30 club. Wow, yeah. Nice work, Mia. Tom Brady stats right there, except you're losing every match and he won most of them. So I think you're getting the stats thing
Yeah.
wrong.
Let's just say don't take advice from porn stars. How about that?
Yeah, especially divorced ones. Teal, thank you for joining. I almost called you Mia then. That would have been a bit embarrassing.
Oh,
But
don't you dare.
Teal,
Don't
thank
you
you for
dare.
joining me. Been a pleasure. Guys, thanks for joining us today. If you want a session with Teal, you can book one via the link under the show notes. You can also do a similar thing with me. And we are excited to see you next week. Teal, stay safe.
Talk to you later, Mark. Thanks.
See you soon,
Bye.
guys. Bye for now.